Welcome to Thar's Garage. In this video, I'll be installing the direct drive kit for the team associated B6 platform. This direct drive kit is for the B6.1, B6.2, B6.3, and B6.4. It'll also fit, if I'm not mistaken, any of the other platforms like the stadium truck and the short course truck. So I don't have to drive the car to let you know how it feels, especially since I did have this kit on my B6.3. I was running on carpet and a 21.5 turn spec class, and this made a huge and noticeable difference in the amount of speed and get up and go the car had coming out of a corner. So this is the one upgrade that made the car faster, and by faster I mean consistently half a second faster per lap. So definitely recommend this for any spec class racing. I don't know if this is good for carpet and 17.5. I feel like it might be too much torque and too much stress on the gears inside the gearbox, so that may be something that you want to stay away from. So first things first, let's go ahead and get our slipper clutch off. So all I'm doing now is undoing the nut for the slipper clutch adjustment, and I'm just going to go ahead and take the spring off and the spring seats. I'm going to go ahead and take the wheels and tires off. That way we have a little bit easier access and easier for y'all to see as well. Alright, so one thing that sucks about the direct drive kit, if you have a chassis protector on your car, or carpet protector like we call it, it is impossible to change out for the direct drive kit, because you have to take the transmission off the car in order to split the case. So what I'm going to do first is we can now take off the whole assembly like so. So now we can get the transmission off of the chassis. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the waterfall brace. And go ahead and take the shock off as well. Just give myself a little bit better access. I'm going to take the 6 screws that hold the gearbox onto the chassis. Alright, I'm going to make it easier for myself to take off the wing. So now we need to take the top of the gearbox off. And set that aside. Now we need to take off this screw here for the rear ball stud mount. Remove that. Now there's 2 screws left, if I'm not mistaken. There's a screw here on this side of the gearbox and back here. So probably be easier to take off the rear suspension arms. That way you can see this screw here and this screw here, and we should be able to take the transmission or the gearbox halves apart. All right, I can separate the gearbox, and we can take off the top shaft because the direct drive kit has its own top shaft that is different. So there you go. The direct drive top shaft has this thread and this one doesn't. There's a different kit, or some people make a different kit where you don't have to take the transmission apart. You end up reusing this top shaft. But let's go ahead and weigh this out and see how much weight we're saving. And this is going to be significant in the sense that it is rotating mass. So it's going to help with acceleration, not just, oh, my car is lighter. So we're going to end up reusing our spur gear, so we're not going to measure that. All right, we have 0 grams. So this is the stock slipper I'm measuring 23.1 grams. All right, 23.1. And the direct drive kit, 6.8. That's a huge savings. So according to my kit and everything I measured, we're saving 16.3 grams of rotating mass, which is a lot of weight. I didn't think it was going to be that much. So definitely worth the upgrade. It does make your car faster. So now we can go ahead and install all this. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and install the top shaft. The top shaft is going to go in like this, and we want the threads coming out to where the spur gear is going to go. So you can just put that in just like so. We can put our transmission halves together, make sure everything rotates nice and free, and it does. So now we can screw this in. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble everything nice and smooth. So I'm going to reassemble the car, and then I'll show you how to put the spur gear onto the new shaft. All the screws are back in the transmission. Everything moves nice and smooth like it should. Now we can go ahead and install the spur gear onto the shaft. So this piece here is keyed. So you can see here that there's flats. There's a flat here, there's a flat there. And the shaft itself has flats on it as well. So there's a flat right there, there's a flat on the other side. So we can prepare the spur gear first by installing this piece on the opposite side of where the walls are. So I'm going to install it like so, using the 3 screws that are provided. And we want to use some blue Loctite on these screws because they are going into metal. Just going to wipe off any excess. And now we can go ahead and install this onto the shaft. And you might have to rotate your axles just to line up the keyed portion. And it slides on just like that. And lastly, all you got to do is install this nylock nut, and it takes a 7mm to tighten it down. And once it's tightened down, just double check to make sure that the nylon is engaged in the nut, and it is, and that's exactly what we want. And our mesh is still good, and there we go. So now we can just reassemble our car. So like I said, I've already driven my B6.3 with the direct drive kit installed on it, and that was probably very early on in my racing career, and I probably wasn't as experienced in racing or feel of the car as I am now, and I could definitely tell a huge difference in the speed of my car. All the other racers that I put on to the direct drive kit basically said the same thing. They're like, this is a huge improvement in speed, very noticeable for them. So I would highly recommend it if you're in a stock class. Maybe if you're running on dirt 17.5, you might be able to get away with it as well. Because I know that, I don't know about the Schumachers, but I know for a fact that X-Rays run composite gears in their diffs. You know, some of the other brands are much lighter in rotating mass, and they just seem to accelerate a lot quicker. So this was one thing that kind of helped keep pace with some of the other brands. The other thing that I like to do is run a 2-gear diff. I didn't show that in my build, but you can buy the aluminum cross pins and run just 2 gears in the differential. So I like to do that to kind of remove some rotating mass, and that combo seems to make a difference for me. All right, buggy's back together. Like I said, I think that the direct drive kit is definitely worth the money. If you're limited on power, if you're running in a spec class, especially 21.5 like I am, there aren't very many things you can do to make your car faster. For example, if you have 2 cars that weigh the same, but one car has less rotating mass, it technically has more horsepower, just because it can spin that mass quicker and faster. It can spin the tires quicker and faster, so it'll generate more power to the ground. So that being said, lightening up your drivetrain is definitely worth it if you are limited to what you can do and modify. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Let me know down in the comments if you had any issues or if you have any experience with this particular modification to your car and whether or not you enjoyed it or had any issues with it. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.